Well, thanks. We appreciate the opportunity to come in and help clarify some of the things that you've been writing about. I think there's two things we want to make sure we have on the discussion plate today. And one is dealing with the fact that I think Todd feels that the work plan was the sort of nemesis behind the whole conspiracy theory that's been out there. And two, there's never been any attempt on the part of the audit committee, nor the mayor, nor city council, to influence or interfere with the process. I've been involved since 2008 when I was asked to lead the committee to hire the Auditor General. And it'll be 4 years this summer. And if you think you can get frustrated, you can. I mean, the whole issue of hiring the Auditor General has had its ups and downs. Some of it had to do with the economic turmoil that occurred in the city of Windsor. But a lot had to do with the process of getting it through council and making sure that we had the right person in place to be the Auditor General. I don't know if I want to get into all the details right now, but we started off with 2008. When I first went on the audit committee, I was very impressed with what the City of Windsor had done. The City of Windsor had decided to have a city auditor model, and that city auditor model that they developed at that time paralleled what was proposed to become the Auditor General model for the province of Ontario. And quite honestly, I was quite impressed that the City of Windsor was going to go that route. That was one of the reasons why I went on the audit committee at the City of Windsor. I have a background in auditing. I was in public accounting for 30 years. I was a managing partner of the local auditing firm called Clarkson Gordon and Ernst & Young. So I have lots of experience in how audits are done and how you do things and how you go about work plans and so on and so forth. And then in 2008, the city passed some more resolutions in which they decided that they were going to have an integrity commissioner and some other things, and they once again confirmed that they wanted to have an auditor general. And that's when I was asked to become the chairman of the search committee to look for the auditor general for the city of Windsor. It was a process in which we enlisted the assistance of a professional recruiting firm. We thought that this had to be done the proper way. We brought in representatives from the community on the committee to assist in the process, people who understood what an auditor was all about, people who had some understanding of what the a public entity was all about. And started down that road, and almost immediately after we started down that road, the economic crisis came into play. And it was very, very difficult at that time to attract somebody to the City of Windsor. Had lots of candidates, but none of them would wanted to take the move and come to the City of Windsor because of the concerns about their economy. They were going to move out of cities in which they would probably lose money on the sale of their houses and so on and so forth. So after that didn't work, I had one candidate at the time that I thought was quite creditable, and I even attempted to bring him in on a secondment basis. Spoke to his employer and said, gee, you know, this guy's been talking to us. How about if we second him and have him come down and work with us for a little while so we get some experience? And that didn't work out. They had some of their own pressures. His employer didn't think it was the right thing to do. Eventually, he came back and said, you know, I think I do want to come down to the City of Windsor now. Can you put the process back in place? At which time we did do that. I'm not entirely sure of all the time frames, but it took quite a while for the process to get in front of City Council. And I was frustrated at the time. And by the time I finally got it in front of City Council, the candidate said, look, I had to make family decisions, so I'm going to have to turn down the offer. And that was the end of the story. He wasn't able to come. So we sort of kept the process in place. The recruiting firm that we had used at the time had a commitment that if it didn't work out or we didn't get anybody, they would continue to work with us. So we enlisted the recruiting firm to assist us again, and we went through another round of interviews. We had another committee struck consisting of people in the public domain that were going to volunteer their time to help the city find the Auditor General, and that's when we found Todd Langlois. And once again, I thought I was going to lose that process. I'd spoken to Todd. I think we concluded that process in November or December of 2010. I tried to get that on council's agenda in January. It got deferred because there were other things that council had to deal with at the time. I was actually out of town when it finally got before council. And as the meeting was going on, I was getting emails from people telling me that it's going sideways. And here I am out of town, not able to do anything, wasn't able to be there. And it still took a while for me to get it before council and for council to make their decision. And I think the one thing you have to understand is that throughout this whole process, council wanted an auditor general. There's no doubt in my mind about that. But every time we were getting this close to hiring an auditor general, something would occur that would cause them to say, well, wait a minute, do we really want to do this? We had the 400 City Hall Square audit come out. We had the costs of that. And council was saying, okay, Bill, we do want an auditor general. However, give us a comfort feeling that we're not going to continue to have explosion after explosion after explosion. I said, well, I can't do that, but let's keep on with the process. So after some negotiations, we finally did hire Todd. And Todd started on his route, on his way. Very capable person. Wouldn't have suggested that we hire him if he wasn't a very capable person. And I think that's where I'll probably end the introductory remarks. I think that kind of gives you the background as to where we're at and why we're here today. And I'd like to just simply open it up for questions now on that basis.